My brother mocked me for being just a mechanic, so I yanked the $16 million deal his company needed and watched his empire collapse. Now he's begging. Hey, Reddit. I'm a 34-year-old man who owns and runs a highly specialized mechanical engineering firm. We do industrial maintenance, retrofitting, and high-precision machine fabrication for aerospace and military clients. In short, it's niche, lucrative, and incredibly demanding. I didn't get here by luck. I put in 2 decades of sweat, missed holidays, and nights in the shop to build what I have. My older brother, Evan, is 36. He's always been the family golden boy. The one who got straight A's, went to an Ivy League school, and got a fast-track corporate job right out of college. Our parents practically built a shrine to him. Me. I was the grease-stained kid who fixed lawnmowers and rebuilt engines in the garage while they sighed about my wasted potential. Evan started his own tech consulting firm 5 years ago with some seed money from our dad. It grew decently largely because he's charismatic and knows how to sell smoke. But his company had one massive dependency, a contract with a major defense manufacturer that required custom-built machinery on-site for their new R&D department. Guess who was the sole certified provider for that type of equipment and servicing? Me. Evan knew this. His company needed my firm to maintain the machines or their entire service contract with the manufacturer would be void. But since I was technically a subcontractor buried under layers of NDAs, no one else in his company really understood the depth of my role. I hadn't seen Evan in person for a while, but last Thanksgiving, we all got together at our parents' house, and that's where everything flipped. The dinner was full of the usual small talk until Evan, half a bottle of red wine in, decided to start posturing. He was talking about how AI would replace most blue-collar jobs within a decade, and how society needed to start retraining the obsolete workforce. Then he looked straight at me, smirking, and said, "Get a real job already. Everyone knows you're just a glorified mechanic. You're still crawling under machines while the rest of us are building the future." The table went silent. My mom chuckled awkwardly. My dad just sipped his wine and looked away, and I sat there stunned. I'd had enough. For years I'd let their attitude slide. Let them diminish my work because it didn't come with a tie and a LinkedIn post every week. But this was public humiliation, and it came from someone whose entire operation was still afloat because of my company's work. So I smiled and said nothing, but I made up my mind before dessert. 2 weeks later, I reviewed the renewal documents for Evan's contract. His company's dependency on our machinery was stated in black and white. If we pulled our services or declined to renew, the manufacturer could cancel their contract. That contract was worth $16 million a year to Evan's firm. Now we were due for renegotiation, and I had leverage. My team had been overperforming for years without extra compensation, even covering last-minute requests. So I sent over a new proposal, massively marked up with stricter service hours and less flexibility. Evan didn't respond. Instead, his operations manager called me and tried to haggle like it was a Craigslist ad. I politely informed her the rates were non-negotiable. She was flustered, but said she'd get back to me. A week later, I received a cold, templated email from Evan himself saying they'd be transitioning away from our services. I was apparently no longer aligned with their vision. That was it. So I called the manufacturer directly. Under the terms of our agreement, I was required to notify them if a servicing contract was interrupted. I informed them that as of the end of the month, we'd no longer be servicing Evan's sites. I also mentioned off the record that I had concerns about his firm attempting to maintain proprietary machines using uncertified vendors. The legal department took it from there. 3 weeks later, the manufacturer terminated their contract with Evan's firm. That $16 million anchor, gone overnight. I didn't hear from Evan until a month after that. He showed up at my office looking like he hadn't slept in days. No fancy suit, no smug grin, just panic. He tried to keep it professional at first, asking if there was any way to reconsider the service contract. That his company was going through a rough patch. That maybe we could work something out. I leaned back in my chair, looked at the same man who once laughed at me for being a mechanic and said, "You told me to get a real job." So I did. And it's not my job to save you now. He tried everything. Insults, guilt, even brought up our parents. But I was done. I'd spent years being treated like a second-class citizen in my own family just because I worked with my hands and not behind a screen. Now the tables had turned. My company has since picked up a direct contract with the manufacturer. We're expanding, hiring more technicians, and investing in better tools. Meanwhile, Evan's firm is hemorrhaging clients and trying to downsize to stay afloat. I hear from mutual contacts that he's in talks with investors to try and sell off what's left. And the best part, he has no idea just how much worse it's about to get. Because what he doesn't know is that one of his biggest remaining clients just reached out to us directly for a consultation. Apparently, they're looking to cut out the middleman, and I'm more than happy to oblige. After Evan stormed out of my office that day, I sat there for a long while. Not with guilt, not with regret, just reflection. Years of being underestimated, pushed aside, and talked down to had culminated in a single moment of clarity. My work had always spoken for itself, but now, for once, so did the consequences. The word got around quickly in our industry. Evan's company had lost the contract, and even worse, rumors began swirling that they were being investigated for mishandling proprietary hardware. The manufacturer had dispatched an internal audit team to verify the misuse claim. It wasn't personal. I had to notify them due to compliance. But Evan hadn't taken it as a business decision. He saw it as betrayal. But here's the irony. I didn't destroy Evan's company. He did. All I did was remove the silent support beam he didn't know was holding the ceiling above him. 2 weeks after our last interaction, I received an email from one of Evan's former clients. One I'd never interacted with directly. They were vague at first, just asking for an exploratory call to discuss future service options. When we got on the phone, the CEO didn't waste time. He said, "We've heard good things about your team. We didn't even realize you were behind the equipment Evan's company was so proud of. We'd rather work with the people who actually built the house, not just the ones who leased the key." That same week, 2 more inquiries came in. And just like that, the dominoes began to fall. Evan's empire wasn't built on trust or substance. It was built on charisma and the illusion of innovation. Without the backbone of real engineering behind it, it crumbled faster than I imagined. But it wasn't just business, it got personal. My parents called me one evening, both clearly uncomfortable. My mom asked if I consider helping Evan through this tough time. She said things like, "He's family, and you have to let bygones be bygones." I asked her one simple question. Where was this energy when he mocked me in front of everyone? Silence. My dad tried to change the subject, acting like Evan had just made a bad business move, but I didn't budge. I wasn't gonna set myself on fire to keep my brother warm anymore. Evan himself texted me a few days later. Not an apology. Not an acknowledgement. Just, "We need to talk. I'll make it worth your while." He came by again, more subdued this time. He looked thinner, his suit baggy. Gone was the confident, cocky man from Thanksgiving. In his place stood someone who finally understood what it meant to be vulnerable. But even then, he couldn't quite humble himself enough. He said, "Look, I messed up. I didn't mean it the way it sounded that night. I was drunk. We were all just talking trash." "Right. But you've made your point. You got what you wanted. So now let's just fix this." He still thought this was a transaction, that I wanted revenge, that now that I'd seen him humbled. I tossed him a lifeline so I could feel like the bigger man. But he didn't understand. This wasn't about revenge. This was about respect. I told him there was nothing left to fix. His company had burned the bridge long before he opened his mouth that night. I had new clients, better contracts, and more freedom. I didn't need to drag him further. Life was already doing that for me. His voice cracked when he said, "So you're just gonna watch me lose everything?" And I told him, "No. I already did. You just haven't hit the final floor yet." He left without another word. Since then, my business has more than doubled. We've taken on 2 major aerospace clients, added a 3rd maintenance team, and I've been invited to speak at a national engineering summit later this year. The kid they once called a grease monkey is now mentoring industry leaders on innovation in legacy systems. As for Evan, well, he's trying to rebrand. Word is he's pitching himself as a strategic consultant now, leaning heavily on his Ivy League background. But the industry is smaller than he realizes. People talk, and reputation travels fast. One day, I came across a podcast clip he posted. He was talking about the importance of building real partnerships with technical experts and not taking the behind-the-scenes players for granted. He didn't mention me by name, but he didn't need to. I sat back watching the clip and couldn't help but laugh. He finally learned the lesson, but the price, his pride, his company, and the golden boy image he wore like armor for most of his life. I didn't need to gloat or post about it. I didn't need to rub it in anyone's face. My satisfaction came from knowing that I didn't stoop to his level. I simply let my work and my silence do the talking. And now he's begging. And that's how a so-called glorified mechanic dismantled his brother's empire without lifting a finger, just by walking away. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and check out more revenge tales where karma hits harder than any comeback ever could.